One baby. Oh shit,
Bro,
where's
this
our stuff?
boy can't even count, bro.
Shit, my bad. The whole access was popping up and we were like disappeared for a moment. But anyways, good evening, everybody else. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting anybody's watch time of the Mavericks game tonight. I didn't. This was unintentional too. I'm also saddened, but that's why
It's
I'm
all
also
right.
watching it on another screen.
I'm sure not many of us actually watch those Mavs games.
Damn. Hey man, you don't need
True.
to actually highlight the actual problem with the NBA right now. But 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 unfortunately we will not be talking about basketball stuff, as this is going to be more of like another video game news talk. Yay, who asked this time? Literally nobody. My feed is just being flooded with a whole bunch of shit lately.
That
So
sounds like a personal problem.
indeed. So we could go ahead and dive right back into this too, of like some of the things that a lot of it that we're going to talk here are probably going to be follow-ups, and some stuff that we think it's a little bit concerning, and we do want to see like if we have like enough people that resonate with how we feel about certain topics here. But let's move on to the first thing that we're going through. The Switch 2, baby. Hell yeah, that shit looks awesome actually.
Yeah, but you know what's not awesome? The price.
Oh yeah.
True.
So okay, so that's another thing about it too. So we'll get to the price part towards a little bit, but in this case, some of the things that if you guys weren't aware of right now, the Switch 2 has already came, or at least they announced it with all of its features galore, and it looks great. It's an increase of like hardware, that capability they can do, new functionalities, feel about it too, some new software features that they incorporated in it, such as Nintendo's very own version of Discord. Albeit you could also share your games too, or share stream games, but it's gonna look like you're running the game on 5 FPS on another person's screen. But
Crazy.
hey, you take what you got to do. You either are used to it too, because Lloyd was able to play League of Legends at 5 frames per second.
Yeah, and I still got too old somehow.
God.
Those are where you say dark times.
Yeah, the Dell Inspiron.
Oh my god.
Different straw, tell you. Oh, I like
God.
beer.
Inspiron.
Oh, oh my god. Leave a comment below of like what was like your setup at the time when you played League of Legends. Please, to the love of God, I need to know
Tell
like
us.
how many
Tell us your worst setup ever. Worst gaming
yeah,
setup ever.
yeah. I need to know like how many trackpad warriors that I get to meet, because I met like at least 2.
Yeah, that's more than 0.
Exactly, which is surprising to say the least. But moving on from that, I think right now the Switch 2, in terms of like the feature without taking the price in consideration, it's actually an improvement from the previous game. Such as
What
the
does it
fact
have,
that,
Mr. Bowie?
so from in this case its original predecessor, I think it had like 8 GB or something of like storage too, and it has increased it already to like a 532 GB or something plus internal storage, and also with the option of like having like SD cards that you can insert into the Switch to increase the storage even further. So I think needless to say too, the Switch 2 has already built into its hardware more storage than the previous games.
Hmm.
And
Indeed, a lot
so
of storage.
yeah. So which is great too, because you know, a lot of times right now with the way how a lot of game spaces are, storage is honestly is what matters to a lot of people now.
Mm-hmm. What about the
And
resolution, Mr. Bowie?
oh yeah.
1080p for the Switch 2, 720p for the first Switch. However,
Yeah.
you plug it in, the Switch 2
It's
supports up to 4K.
yeah. So that's actually great for like all of those that are using the Switch 2 as sort of like their own home entertainment setup. Yeah, no, the Switch 2 is honestly a proper like console competing now, competitor now.
Damn.
That's kind of crazy. It's a small console. Technically, it's a small console, but it
Yeah.
can play up to 4K. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it could play up to 4K, and it's if anything too, it can also be something that like both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One or X has not done yet. And that is in this case, it is also a handheld with also Joy-Cons. I I will say this too. I'm okay with the Joy-Cons being in the way they are, that they are magnetic. But I still prefer in this case being able to slide the Joy-Cons into it too, because that feels way more solid and secure versus
That is
magnet
definitely
attachment.
more secure because you don't want to accidentally hold on to the Joy-Con part and then the rest of the Switch just falls off.
Yeah, albeit they did say they do have like a strong magnet system that actually is like really sturdy and actually it won't like drop that easily too.
Man,
And
you never know. Things
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
Even those
uh,
slidey ones, they can still drop off if you do something wrong. So
yeah, which is like all of these are remotely like great criticisms. But the other crazy shit that I saw too is that their new Joy-Cons, you can use them as mouse now. Like both ends can just be used as a mouse. So that also means too, I think we're gonna probably see a
how
lot
that
more
even works.
games. I don't know, but it just works the way that they do. So what I'm getting at right now too is that like I think there's gonna be a lot more PC games that are gonna be eligible to be ported over to Switch, at least in my opinion.
Mm.
Mhm.
Especially you look at,
I
if
don't know.
especially
Maybe.
especially if you consider at least games that require at least a mouse to be able to play some of them properly. Like let's say for example any RTS games. Or like any RTS games or like the grandest strategy games too, like Civilization 7, for example.
I
However,
would
there
say
was
Civilization or something else.
yeah, I wouldn't say
I think
so.
I would argue a lot of RTS doesn't require a mouse. I mean, I did play a few RTS on Xbox before. It didn't seem to be too hard for me to do.
Yeah. But then again, this also depends on the question of which RTS we're talking about at that point. And if anything, that alone is already like it's subject that it's an open-ended answer. We don't know until we actually see it properly function. Because here's the thing, it looks really cool. And I think what they really did well to showcase it to is the way that like the newer games that they're going to be releasing with it. But we'll get to that in a moment. So the biggest thing that apparently too, despite all the good features, it does have a big problem too, and it's its price point. I think it was like being charged for what $450 for the entire console itself.
Yeah, 450, 449 technically.
Uh, so okay, how much does in average the Xbox One go for right now, and the PS5?
I think
Minus we took
PS5
a
is also five. I think PS5 is also like 500 or something. Let me see. I'll check
mm,
that real quick.
yeah, but I know for certain too that like I don't know how much consoles cost either way too, because guess what, I'm a PC gamer, although I had like a PS3 for a bit too, but I don't think I paid more than, or my family didn't pay more than like $200 at least for the PS3.
Was it passed down? Second market?
mm,
It shouldn't
mm,
have been that low.
it
All
shouldn't
right.
have been, but I like I said, my memory is very hazy of like how much we actually paid for it. I'm just assuming that we didn't pay more, like way expensive for it at the time, but it could be passed down,
Um,
honestly, now that I think about it.
so so the PS5 is 500. The
Mm-hmm.
Xbox Series S, which is the slim version, is 349, and then the
340.
normal Xbox Series X is 449.
Okay, so the Switch 2 then is comparatively in terms if we're trying to like,
The same price.
yeah, because let's be honest, even though it is like we're trying to say that like the Switch is a handheld console, it's honestly far from that no more anymore now, since it's able to like compete like spec wise with a lot of other consoles, or in
Yeah,
this
but
case
other
home
consoles
entertainment consoles.
play like a lot drastically different games than compared to whatever is played on the Switch.
Yeah, which if anything, it does showcase too that like the games that the Switch 2 was offering as well. A lot of it is in this case very family friendly centric games too that belong to Nintendo IP, such as we saw the game Mario Kart World. We'll get into that issue in just a bit. But I don't know. How bad do you think the pricing is comparatively in this console space right now?
Um, how much the original Switch cost? I don't remember.
I do not remember that price number either.
Let
I
me see.
want to, I'll say like, I'll probably make a guess too while Victor figures this out. I'm assuming it's like a $300 console.
It was a $300 console, $299 at launch.
I fucking nailed that shit, baby. Let's go. Although I'm not even considering the OLED part, but we don't even consider that shit either.
Well, that doesn't matter. But The fact is, it's $299. Yeah, that's a drastic jump. That's a drastic jump from the previous generation.
Mm,
50% increase.
yeah. But even like
Uh,
with that too, would you justify at least that price increase just because of the hardware upgrade that the Switch 2 received? Or even then, you still think that's pushing it?
I think that's pushing it, only because maybe because I'm not a big fan of Nintendo and how they do their things. But
Yeah.
I like playing PC games. I like playing games that are not Nintendo. So Stream Deck and all those other Windows-based handhelds make more sense to me.
Yeah. So, needless to say, too, I think really the greatest verdict to say about the way how the Switch 2 looks, honestly, for those people that want to go over for pre-orders too, and you're afraid that you're gonna get scalped, apparently too, they have gave a solution to that, an update from our scalpers stuff too. That Nintendo says that those that can pre-order to need to have a viable Nintendo like subscription account with them, and they also need to agree to like share data with them. Like in this case, being able to send the share data with like if there's like crash or bug reports, something like that too. Usually that's whatever it means whenever you see that up too. Usually I will want to say no, but for Nintendo's requirements, you would have to say a yes to that agreement, and also versus other things. So therefore, you can at least your account alone is going to be eligible to get a copy of the Switch 2. Because that's always like this scary shit to do, especially when a console is like getting this much like press and attraction to. A lot of scalpers are going to come in and like try to buy up all the stock. But luckily, they said too that the pre-order bonus or pre-order buys right now, they're pretty much like having a hard lock that it's going to only be like, yeah, only like Nintendo Switch customer bases are allowed to purchase this right now. You yourself as a normal customer cannot pre-order console unless you were already part of like the Nintendo environment. It sucks nonetheless, but this is the environment that
Wait,
we live in.
so you're telling me that people who own the Switch before can buy the new Switch, or what? I'm not understanding.
So there's like in this case for the Switch previously, in order to play like multiplayer, there is like their own like internet service. So same thing with PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, for example.
Hmm.
So Nintendo had that version of their own for their own stuff here too. That was also how like people could play Smash competitively
So
multiplayer.
people that subscribe to their service can buy it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
What if is there a limit? What
Yeah,
if the
there's still a
scalpers
limit.
just what
Yeah,
if the
there's still
scalpers just decide to subscribe to their service and buys it too?
yeah, it's like if anything, they also said too that they had to have been a subscription member for a specific amount of time length as well. So it can't
Okay.
just be like a as soon as you do all of these things, you are approved to go. You also had to have been like using their services for quite some time.
Okay, well, I mean, that helps the people already in the Nintendo's ecosystem, but people
Yeah.
outside are gonna get fucked.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's sort of like how this feels right now. To like, this is their answer about it. To me, I don't think that's a good answer, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what else could they really do about this, dude.
Yeah, I understand. It is a very difficult situation to deal with.
Yeah, because Nintendo definitely does want to make sure that the console goes out to the people that truly do want it first. Which in this case, it's easier to do if there's someone that's on Nintendo's subscription account.
Yeah,
So
it's easy to sell to people that are already on Nintendo playing
yeah.
Nintendo games.
Yeah, so that's perfectly fine. I think for the most part too, like the direction that we're kind of heading right now with a lot of this too, I think a lot of companies want to do handheld consoles now. Looking at this, however, it's going to be with a big asterisk here.
They need to do it right.
Yeah, they need to
They
do
need
it
to do
right.
they need to do handhelds right. You see, Nintendo Switch is successful because it's Nintendo. There's no real reason why they're actually successful in my eyes.
Mm.
But
Mm.
the way to not do handhelds is something called the PlayStation Portable. Have y'all heard of that?
God damn it! Do not call me out right now, you son of a bitch.
Hell yeah, he's calling you out.
Yeah, don't call me out for my pretty small penis. God damn it.
Say I'm unhinged.
My god. But nonetheless, I fucking love the PSP. I think that handheld, it trumped anything else that Nintendo was making at the time. But unfortunately, because
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the new one,
oh yeah, that
the
oh god,
PlayStation Portal.
oh god, never mind. I hate that thing. Uh, because all
Wait,
it really does,
old
yeah,
PSP was ahead of its time, and it wasn't bad. It was just ahead of its time.
yeah, and it's just like, god damn it. The PS Vita was the downfall of like the handheld markets for quite some time. And then the Nintendo came out with the Wii U stuff. That was honestly, here's the thing about it. I at least acknowledge the fact that Nintendo was able to bounce back from an economic disaster that was the launch of the Wii U.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that was also something that was like in a very important lesson that everyone in the world saw to this as like what kind of stuff that they were trying to do for like next generation of consoles. But I think for Nintendo's case, they just refined it. Because let's be honest, the Wii U technically wasn't really that bad, but obviously it was something that nobody really wanted.
The Wii U had its charm,
Yeah.
but just for a specific, a specific subset of games.
Yeah, and that was like the greatest issue that it had too. Like back then was like making stuff for like portable consoles was very limited because the hardware, at least at the time, was just straight up. You wouldn't be able to run like fucking Doom Eternal right now at max settings on a fucking Switch. I don't think you
What?
can do that. You'll probably be getting like at least 15 frames. I don't know if that's playable in my opinion, but
Playable on
nonetheless,
me.
but nonetheless too. But nonetheless, I do think right now a lot of consoles are, or a lot of like rumors and speculations too, of like a lot of these big console makers, like for Sony and Microsoft, they're trying to get their hands on the handheld space. But I think for them, they're already too late for the party, just because you already have like a couple of things with like a Nintendo, for example. Then you have the Steam or Valve with their Steam Deck. That's also like kind of like bridging the gap together with all of this stuff. Oh, also from our chatter here, to be fair, Nintendo made so much money from the Wii and DS, they could afford to fail the Wii U at least 5x before they run out of money. True, but at the same time, there was also the point where it was actually so disastrous that the CEO had to like slash his salary in order to like prevent any more loss. So that was also another thing to be said about that. But moving on from that too, the Steam Deck, I think right now Valve and Nintendo are already competing in this newer frontier of like right now with the new style of how people want to game, right? Because
I think so. I think, let's be honest. When did these handhelds really become popular? I feel like it's after the first Nintendo Switch. But when did Steam Deck come out?
that's a very good question.
Let me see when the first Steam Deck came out. Oh, 2022.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure there was like some prototype models like for a bit too, but you know what? Yeah, 2022 does kind of make a lot of sense in that regard. But here's the thing too, that like I think Valve in this case has like a stronger position in the console market than any other company, even stronger than Nintendo. And it's the fact of the matter is that like you could play all of your Steam games at like really decent like frames per second just anywhere around the world. You could have access to your Steam library and just play from there. And even if it's not using like the other stuff, if not using like your own Steam's like internal hardwares to power this game too, you can actually use this as like its own like cloud-based gaming as well.
Yeah, you can connect up to your gaming PC and then play Steam games off of that. Stream the Steam games off of that. It's kind
Yeah.
of nice. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of your own your own personal cloud gaming.
Yeah, because here's the thing about it. I think the PlayStation Portal, that's what that did, but I don't like I don't like the way how it implemented itself, because the fact that you're only exclusively only able to play stuff that's for like the PlayStation games only.
Mhm.
But it's like, what if I want to play like stuff from like Microsoft titles too? I want to be able to do that. But in this case, if they made the PlayStation Portal be able to connect to your main computer that you can play off of too, I think it would have sold better, in my opinion. If you could also play like other games through like their own quote unquote cloud features stuff that they had. But
Yeah,
again,
maybe.
But like I said, that's just me speculating. My hot take too, that like I think PlayStation Portal could have done better too. They would have been able to like have like other stuff that they could run games off of that. I know it'll be challenging too. I don't know how they would do it, but it would be nice, right?
It would be nice, yeah. But it also depends. I think having these handheld consoles, like PlayStation version of a handheld console and even Xbox version of a handheld console, I don't think they're really the right direction for them to go.
They aren't, because here's what I think is going on with, at least in the PC gaming space. I think that handhelds are mostly accessories to your PC. They're mostly a way to help you interface with it more than it is as an actual console. I think that's what's really truly going on, because Nintendo Switch still dominates, in this case, the handheld console market. I think for what the Steam Deck kind of serves, it is a handheld console by its purest definition, but realistically, it feels more like an accessory to already your Steam library on your PC itself.
It is. It is. Everything that Steam makes an accessory to your Steam account.
Which is actually like, it's honestly the most safest approach. It's the safest approach, grammar wise. That I'm trying to say here, the safest approach for Valve to actually introduce like handheld stuff or any accessories, just so that as long as it supports their environment or their like software suite.
I mean, anything they do will benefit Steam, like Steam Link, Steam Deck. They're
God, their
those
Steam
kind of
Home
things.
as well. Holy shit.
Steam Home.
They're-
Oh, that
yeah,
thing, yeah.
yeah. Like
But
it's
yeah,
actually
those things,
crazy.
those things make Steam a lot more fun and more accessible to use outside of your computer. You
Yeah.
can play Steam games on your phone or your laptop. You can stream it from your laptop, or actually play it on another handheld, like from Asus or something.
Yeah, but I think here's the thing about it. Even though I say that like Sony and Microsoft, they're kind of late to the party of like trying to make consoles again too. Although to be honest, Sony already like beat Microsoft to the punch with their PlayStation Portal.
I
Microsoft
don't think
actually, I
I
think
don't think they're
Microsoft does
late.
have an edge.
I wouldn't say they're late,
Hmm.
but I would say they are taking a strategic approach to it.
Yeah, because I think Microsoft actually does have an like a already inherent edge to getting into the breaking into the handheld space market. And that's also because the fact that they could honestly enlist the help of like third-party makers too to like help it. Since a lot of like the third-party handheld makers like Asus, for example, they mostly are using Windows operating system to help power a lot of their stuff, and they can still play Steam games without logic. But Microsoft really now has the battle against Valve because of the fact that they released the Steam OS to be like accessible to a lot of third-party handheld makers now. So
Uh, Steam OS, it's still a niche. I
it is
think it
still a
really,
niche.
it really depends on whether or not you only use Steam, because I'm sure Steam is not our only game library.
Yeah, I know. But mind you, this is only this is hopefully in the future too that like we'll be able to like merge libraries at this point with the end of like a lot of other fucking live service. Not live service, but a lot of other companies with their own like game store client that absolutely fucking sucks that we could just combine it now with Steam,
Mhm.
hopefully. But until that happens too, yeah, it is still going to be niche, but it's honestly already a promising opportunity for those that already are using Steam as their main way to play their games.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Yeah, which if anything too, as much as like we would say too that is niche, a lot of people that play PC gamers are also in this case are just Steam gamers. So this is something that would be great to have too, and not really rely on like Microsoft software too, because let's be honest, Windows OS is not the greatest whenever it comes to run games.
Yeah, true, but Steam OS is just a Linux platform it's just a Linux platform, and Linux platform isn't good in running Windows games yet.
Yeah,
I want to see. So we're gonna see how it goes.
yeah. We'll probably do a follow-up topic about this at some point. But let's get into the meat of like the whole drama with the Switch 2. That is in this case Mario Kart World. It's not about what's going on with the game, but it's how much it's costing right now. For those that don't know too, we've had also talked about in this case the increasing cost of games right now. Like we talk shit and bitch and complain about like a $70 game. Well, now Nintendo decide to fucking stab us even further by making Mario Kart World be an $80 game.
Ooh, yay! Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, hold on a minute. This is way more expensive. What the fuck is this? What does this game have that it did not have to warrant the price increase? Honestly, it looks just the same as the previous Mario Kart games, except that it's open world and it plays like Forza.
Forza was Forza a $60 game? Let me see. What was the most recent Forza? I gotta look.
It should have been Forza 5, I think. No, hold on. Forza 5 was also another one. Damn it. I don't remember now. Fuck.
Whatever. I'm just gonna look at Forza Horizon 5.
All right. But,
Yeah,
Lloyd,
it's a
would you,
$60 game, standard edition.
Lloyd, would you pay $80 to play Mario Kart?
Bro,
Hell no.
fucking Forza is $60 and it looks
Yeah.
realistic racer.
Yeah. So that is the biggest issue that a lot of people had to, and a lot of people are outright like protesting about, in this case, this absurd price as well. Because let's be honest, who are these games supposed to be for? They're mostly for like families and parents and kids. What reasonable family is gonna look at the price and be like, "Ooh, it's a Mario Kart game. This will be fun for their family. How much does this cost? $80. What the fuck?"
I love my kids, but this shit isn't worth $80.
Yeah, it's already bad enough too that like I feel like with them announcing this too, this honestly greenlights a lot of other game studios to want to try to raise their prices now too. But you know what I really have to say about that too is just like, fuck it, let them increase their prices. Because guess what too? All they're really doing is that they're only just selling to the people that can accessibly afford that shit. A lot of people nowadays, dude, they're not really out there trying to buy new games. It's already made apparent too. Hell, there's even a recent statistic right now that like 50% of like the consumer purchases right now in the US is made by like the 10% of Americans.
Yeah, top 10% of Americans.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just for general consumers, like
Yeah.
just in
Like, it
general,
doesn't incorporate.
that's how people spend. But when you
Yeah.
talk about games, I mean, like the
How much do they
only the
really
top
talk
10.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's be honest too. A lot of people they're at this point, they're at the limit of like actually trying to buy like any more new games. Unless it's something that's like it's actually worthwhile. Like for example, Monster Hunter Wilds. It already broke 10 million units sold here in like 1 month. Which is crazy to think about, especially for a Monster Hunter title. Holy fuck. But
When a game's actually fun and people actually want to play it, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be worth the money.
yeah, so there's that. And it's very hard to really like justify it too, because like you will want to hope that like this doesn't do well too. But because it's the Nintendo game in of its nature, that's definitely going to be part of it. Like it's going to be selling well no matter what.
Yeah,
However,
it's probably gonna sell well. But here's the thing: if every other company starts raising their price to $80, I just hope deep down that everybody boycotts them and just not buy their game.
yeah, like actually fucking do it this time around. Like holy fucking shit. I heard so many times they want to boycott certain games too for like different shit. I'm like, cool,
But
fucking boycott it. But they never do. And I'm like, wow.
I wanna bring up a funny thing,
Hmm.
a very ironic thing, and it's called free to play games.
Yeah. Me,
Those games are
Victor, and
free.
Loy here.
Those games are free to play, but I bet you that people spend way more than $80, $100, hundreds of dollars on those free to play games.
Then they
Oh,
would
yeah.
like as outright purchasing. Yeah. I already spent $50 on fucking Wuthering Waves. I'm considering
Only
spending in a
50?
minimum. Yeah, only 50. And that's what Loy said. I
Only
have
50. How much
yeah.
you spend, Lloyd?
I don't
500?
know, bro.
That's a
I don't
number he
know.
doesn't want to disclose right now.
But
I
that's what I'm
generally
saying.
I honestly just don't know.
Oh, shit.
All right,
But-
what's your most recent purchase?
It was a $5 monthly battle pass thingy that gives me in-game currency, so that way I
So-
can save up for my units.
But that's what I'm just gonna say. Like, if you play free to play games, you spend way more than $80. But of course, that's because people don't really pay attention to that.
It's either they
just
don't pay
know
attention to that.
they know the game is free, so they're not willing. They don't mind paying like for all the extras and things like that.
Yeah.
But if you
Because-
have to pay for a game upfront, $80 upfront, everybody, it's like a psychological thing,
Yeah.
When you have to pay $80 upfront for a game, people don't like that at all.
Yeah, and I'll be it too. Like, that's one part of it. The other part is like I know full and well too that like I'm fucking spending $50 on this game to just get this fucking character. I know how much money I'm throwing at this shit. Other people don't because yeah, like what you said, it's like it's mostly like small purchases that are made over time. But
Hmm.
once you add them all up together, yeah, it's gonna become that. But that's the biggest difference right now is that here with a lot of these games being priced up so high too, no one is going to be able to drop that money instantaneously.
Hmm. No,
Like
I get
that
you.
is like, and that is the thing about it too. And here's the other thing about it as well. I don't think Nintendo really expects people to buy Nintendo's or the Mario Kart World straight like that too. It's gonna have to be part of a bundle. That I think is where they make the most amount of money from this.
Maybe, I mean, they're probably just trying to get people to buy the Switch. The game is just an extra, and they're just
Mhm.
pricing it in a way where the bundle seems more enticing.
Yeah, like I feel
Because
like
I think they
Mhm.
probably profit more off of the Switch and rather than the game.
Which is something that's always interesting too, because we always hear that like consoles are like lost leaders, right? Like,
I think for Nintendo is a different story.
yeah, Nintendo's a different story because like the brand image is like we fucking all remember playing the Game Boy, right? We prefer to play the Game Boy stuff too because it's so much easier to like carry with us around. And
I
if we
remember,
wanted to stuff,
uh,
just LAN connection. Oh god. Ah,
I remember, I still remember my 3DS. I enjoyed playing with that a lot.
I didn't
Lloyd.
have that.
I
You didn't
just
have a
remember
handheld.
with my game. I remember with my Game Boy. I was an angry little youngin.
Angry little
And I
shit. Angry.
kind of smashed my Game Boy.
God damn, you would do that shit. I
I did do
if
that shit. What do you mean I would? I did.
shit.
I broke my Game Boy SP, bro.
Oh man, no, not the SP. That was also my fucking first one too. Shit.
Well, my first
But
one was a Game Boy Color.
oh man. But yeah, the game. I will
Actually,
say
no,
this.
my first one was a Game Boy Color. Though I don't remember.
It was a virtual boy.
What?
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that later off podcast here. But anyways, it's an old ass console. Nothing to be said about that. But I like I said too, I hope that this doesn't really set much too, because here's the thing. It's either Mario Kart World is gonna set it, or it's gonna be GTA 6 that's also releasing this year, right? That is already being speculated right now. That's gonna be $100 game, but it's only based on in this case where people were like looking at prices from like leaked documents from like India too, where they were gonna sell GTA 6 in India for like their equivalent value to USD would be around $100.
Oh, at this, you know, I mentioned this before. I'm not expecting GTA to be cheap in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
I know what goes behind the scene, and it's most definitely not cheap to make that game.
Yeah. And if anything, regardless too, if it to say too, does it deserve to be that? This is we will have to wait and see no matter what.
N-
Even if
What
we could
they should
speculate.
do,
Yeah.
what they should do is split up the game and then release DLCs.
It's like, oh, the capitalism mindset is already setting in here. But yes, it would make sense to do it that way.
But I mean, for these kind of big games, that's the only way I see how it could really work. I mean, like if you sell a game at $100 up front, and I'm sure GTA is going to release other like packs and DLCs and things like that too. So
Yeah.
I don't know, $100 up front is a lot.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
really is a lot. But I do you think it's like they could get away with doing that because of the type of game that they're making?
maybe. And when I
Yeah.
think about it, though, that's like half a day salary for me, and for some people, that's like a full day salary, full days like pay.
Full days or even a week's worth.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's very too early to assume otherwise too. However, we don't even know much about the game too, outside of like what we see from like game trailers that were dropped like months ago. So we truly don't know much about it too until it releases, which I believe in a lot of cases too, Rocksteady is doing a smart way of like trying to avoid stuff, but it's also kind of detrimental to their own marketing too, because of like they're not able to like really showcase anything, which is also kind of concerning a lot of people. I don't know. that's something that like we'll have to wait and see. I don't want this to be like a norm too, but I'm more like I'm with you in this regard, Victor, of like say that like fuck it, let these companies charge their game however much they want, just so that they can bring it back down again once they realize that nobody was buying their games at that price point anyways.
Yeah, I mean, some people should understand, or some, yeah, some companies should understand that their game should bring some sort of value. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
if it's a shit game for $100, nobody's gonna buy it.
yeah. So like I said, we will have to really see too. Is it really problematic? I would say as a hotter trash thing, not really. I can understand too that like a lot of people kind of live their life on like these game releases too, especially like the sports games too, or the sports game
But
players.
you know, for sure, those, you know, the people that are for sure gonna buy a game, no matter how much it's gonna cost, are streamers.
Yeah. And guess what too? They don't really care either way too, because let's be honest, they will probably make
Of
way
course,
more
bro.
money back from
Of
like
course,
streaming
they're
the
gonna make
game.
way more money back when playing the game. Of course, that's why I'm saying that they don't care how much the
Yeah.
game costs.
Yeah.
But
And
everyday
it's
normal people like us, you know, like, yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna definitely look at the price and we're gonna see if it makes sense for us or not.
Yeah, like we
I
have to do our
personally
due
wouldn't pay
diligence.
$100 for a game.
Yeah.
I personally don't even pay $60 for a game.
But in this case, the most recent game, Inzoid, that came out in early access, it's $40 game and it's a fucking Sims killer.
The Sims Killer is and it looks very realistic,
So
which is
for
very
the
surprising why it's only $40.
so anyway, so we're doing free marketing advertisements for the developers of Inzoid here. Give us a sponsorship, man. I want to do more. I want to do our Hot or Trash podcast with like the fucking Inzoid characters. See if
Well,
we
if
can
not,
fucking make that work.
well, I mean, if you're not willing to give sponsorship, at least give us some game keys.
Yeah, give us some game keys. You know, I would fully do shit for you. I will sell out. I am not afraid to say that, especially in this shit. In
I
this
knew this
platform,
boy was a sellout.
look, in this type of platform, you either admit that you're a sellout to, and you just gotta say your shit. People will understand it
No,
anyways. You're trying to make the money. I think
dude,
a lot more
you're a,
people are accepting
you're
of
a
that.
sellout. You're a sellout no matter what. Every streamer's a sellout 100%.
Yeah, it's just a rather of denial of that. It's what deters a lot of people. Just fucking double down on this shit too. Might as well, right? It's that time of the year.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
We're already doing that anyways this year. Who cares? But on the so this is pretty much the segment of like us kind of guessing. Then we go to the fucking funnier shit of the news. Oh
What's
my
the funny
god.
shit, Mr. Bowie?
So we've talked length and length about in this case our stuff with like Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like we had a whole segment dedicated for that. But here we're gonna go ahead and give you guys some updates ever since the Assassin's Creed Shadow has been out. It has engaged, I believe, based on their last tweet that I saw, it engaged 2 million players, not sold, engaged with 2 million players after its release.
Engaged
What does
with 2 million players?
Yeah, whatever does that mean is up to your imagination. Because I'll tell you this now, that's not 2 million units sold.
Sounds
Otherwise,
like one. It sounds like one streamer getting like 2 million views on his game, on his gameplay.
Exactly. That's what it feels like, right? Because
Yeah.
because here's the sad thing about it too. I look at the game of Assassin's Creed Shadow. It really does not look bad. And we've seen Loy play like other Assassin's Creed titles too, and it's not bad. It's just that it's not the kind of Assassin's Creed that I remember playing. And it's just because like I don't like the idea of it like going through like the whole action RPG route that they're going with. And it's not even like the fun action RPG route. It's like the most generic and bland looking shit I've ever seen. That's just like my observation review of Assassin's Creed Shadow. I don't know. I'm pretty sure like I haven't played it too, but like I said, this is based on observation that I've seen so far. I'm just not interested in it as much as like I want to hope that this did succeed as well. You can do like customization options to do so, but I don't know. This doesn't do it for me, right? Like it would be something else too. Like maybe I was gonna go into like Assassin's Creed Origins, for example. or not even Black Flag. Black Flag was already something that would already be good too. Hell, Odyssey would have been something that's actually remotely cool.
I feel like Black Flag was like the last best Assassin's Creed before they started going down.
There was an Assassin's Creed game that was actually really good. I forgot what it was called, like before or before Shadows, the one that takes place in like Bangladesh, and it was considered like the actual origins of the Assassin Order. But what was I getting at here? Oh, but yeah, 2 million players that have engaged with it too. But that's not even the worst part about it too. It's the fact that what's currently happening with Ubisoft right now is that they have already like financially like made a subsidiary company that Ubisoft owns this company still, right? But what they're ending up doing is that they're gonna license out all of their IPs that they care about, which is all the Assassin's Creed, all their Tom Clancy games, and whatever they care about is gonna go towards and being licensed to the subsidiary company, and they're gonna transfer a lot of workforce to this company. But what this really means too, like in a lot of like other language too, the subsidiary company, if it's big enough, it can secede away from Ubisoft. What effectively this looks like too is that like they're just making, in this case, their getaway to their escape boat, leaving their investors behind. Because here's what is a fucked up shit about it too. Because it's owned 100%, 75% of Ubisoft, and the other 25% is Tencent, while they have other investors that have no say into the subsidiary company. So it really just feels like, in a way too, it's like, man, we fucked up so bad. Well, it sucks that it has to go out this way. I hope you guys have a good day, and then you just fucking bail. While at the same time, you had a clause too where you get to keep all of your IPs with you. And for whatever reason, Tencent pulls up in a limo to pick you up.
I would love that.
So that is the kind of the closest analogy how a lot of these investors feel right now with Ubisoft. And there currently is like a legal push to like at least hold a general meeting so that they have other investors vote on such things like this too. Because obviously a subsidiary company created by Ubisoft that's owned by Ubisoft, and 25% of it is Tencent, and the original investor have no say into that company. Yeah, that's not a good thing. It's needless to say too, the only reason they're doing this too, because let's be honest too, Ubisoft is not doing that great as a company. They've already lost so much money. Apparently they lost more money making the game Star Wars Outlaws than they did trying to come up to recuperate the cost. The projection that Assassin's Creed Shadow was supposed to make in order for them to like be stable here was that they had to sell more than Black Myth Wukong.
Impossible.
Yeah, that was never going to happen. And I think Ubisoft knew that was not going to happen. So that's why, like, I feel like this plan too was like made in advance years beforehand. And that's what's got a lot of investors kind of pissed off about this. We'll see where this comes up to. We don't really know much about what's going on with that. These are, in this case, based off of recounts of other people that have analyzed the situation. And I'm just regurgitating that to you, both of y'all. And possibly like 4 more people that are looking at this stream.
Thank you.
No, you.
But hot take for this one too, I don't think they would last this long too, and I'm pretty sure what is going to end up happening if they do have to listen to their minority shareholder investors, they're going to vote on this case no to the subsidiary company creation, especially if Tencent and the owners of Ubisoft, the current CEO of Ubisoft, are the main owners of this subsidiary company, even if it's like a 25-75 split. No.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously
no.
Because imagine like that shit happening with like some smaller shit too. Like you have in this case, oh well, this company has already gone to shit, but in this case, there's another company that we created that's only being controlled by us and this other dude that you guys barely know, and they're gonna make the entire decision for the entire company here. And it's just like, the fuck? No, what kind of insane shit is this? Like I said, it's obvious too, Ubisoft is not gonna survive for a while too. I mean, they'll probably still survive somewhat too, but it probably will not be the same like they were before, because they had to shut down like already a lot of studios too. So we'll have to see more about that as well. Just because I could really care less about like um punching the shit out of the Ubisoft as a company, but this honestly kind of feels bad for a lot of developers too, because the whole result of all of this is that a lot of developers are going to lose their jobs,
Yeah.
which is the
I mean,
unfortunate thing about this.
that's the unfortunate reality of working for a shitty company.
Yeah. And it's like some of the people were like thinking about is like, man, how did Ubisoft fall so fucking hard? And there's literally one simple answer, and it's greed. Like they knew like the position that they were in. Ooh, fuck. Sorry, that came out from my own gut. Ooh.
Ew, nasty
Yeah,
ass boy.
my bad. My bad. But let's be honest, I think Ubisoft, they were riding on their own successes of being like the niche like game developer company, because like the games like Just Dance, Rayman Rabbits, and other IPs that they had too. The Tom Clancy's were like also they're really good titles too. But to be honest, in my opinion, I don't think they were like the best, most bankrolling shit. Albeit Rainbow Six Siege is probably the best performing game, but now whatever the fuck whoever's leading that project is kind of killing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, whoever's leading Assassin's Creed Shadows, yeah, that game is already fucked. Even if you don't take into account apparently some other horrendous like in-office like activity shit that the management lead has been doing to their own workers. So that's something I cannot really say for certain because I haven't looked into it, and I feel like it's not like fully disclosed yet.
Hmm.
So this is more or less something that I've heard rumors about going into Ubisoft. It's already a shit company. People are going to lose their jobs. But in all honesty, too, as much as it does for a lot of people's livelihood to get ruined by this, I'm glad that at least for Ubisoft, too, that they have, in this case, are biting, or in this case, their consequences are biting them in the ass for trying to go so hard on like whatever the fuck they were doing. I don't know what they were doing, to be honest with you. They're a French company. I could give a fuck less.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's no hot or trash take about this one too. This is just something that like we'll see what it fully happens to. I want to hope for the downfall of Ubisoft too, because it'll be really funny as hell to see if like they license out the Tom Clancy game to like Activision, for example. What kind of shit they will do.
They'll turn it to Call of Duty is what they'll do.
Ah shit. Sam Fisher's gonna be a fucking playable character that you can buy on the Call of Duty Warzone now. God damn it.
Hey, we
God,
forget
I hate
Scott
this.
Mitchell.
I hate this. I hate this reality so fucking much now. God damn it. This is going to be me off my own tangent. Why could we have a good Ghost Recon game? Like, seriously, what the fuck? Why did
Ghost
this?
Recon definitely went down the hill after let me see, I forgot all the Ghost Recon games now.
Like, Future Soldier was by far my favorite game. I know that like people have said otherwise too, that Future Soldier became more of like an action-oriented game versus like the more strategic stealth mission operation too. It was like, but fuck it, I had so much fun playing that shit. All right, I know
I
that it
still
may
think
not
it
be
was
that.
strategic.
Yeah, maybe, but to
But
some it
Wildlands
was like,
definitely was not strategic. Wildlands is just more of a run and gun game.
yeah, God, Wildlands was straight up like it was actually just college students that made a game.
Okay, so after Future Soldiers was their weird ass multiplayer game Phantoms,
Oh God, yeah.
and then
Oh,
Wildlands. Okay, so technically there's not been that many Ghost Recons.
there hasn't been that many Ghost Recons. But like I said too, we actually had something at Breakpoint. It would look cool too, like a survival stealth mission too, where like you could only get material based off the shit that you raid off of like other bases. That would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it became a looter shooter. I'm like, what the fuck? This is literally the Division all over again. God damn it.
Yeah, I had no reason to be a looter shooter. That didn't make sense at all.
God, if it doesn't make it obvious, dude, that like I'm so annoyed and frustrated with the direction that a lot of the games do. But it's obvious, dude, that like they were trying to go for like a general market too. And obviously they read the general market wrong in the first place, because they should have went for I could care less if they went for the more strategy route. I like in this case Future Soldiers. I like that. Breakpoint had like an amazing concept of it being like an open world, or in this case, open for you to take whatever missions you want to do. I like that idea. And Breakpoint
Oh,
could have been the actual like culmination of like what was good about it, and then they shut the bed, and it's like, God damn it.
oh, they plan to have a another multiplayer Ghost Recon game.
Oh yeah, no, that one was supposed to be an extraction shooter game.
Oh, it's a battle royale. Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
That Ghost
yeah,
shooter battle royale. Ah, yeah, okay.
yeah. Anyways, the fucking title is dead to me. God damn it. Uh, like this is going to be other part of game news that I will just say that like the only thing I love about Ghost Recon was literally the genre of like Tom Clancy too, with like the shadow war conflicts between like America and Russia, having like secret like military departments too, such as Ghost being the American sites and Bodarks being Russians, and they would have like secret wars that would be waging in like other countries as if they're supposed to be proxy wars, but there was actual direct confrontation between two sides. But
Mhm.
affiliation wise, they would not be like associated with America or Russia, depending on who you look at the sides. There were just two interested parties going at it. Like that was already such a cool story that I would love to see them like really branch onto that too, because this is like a title or story that points a lot of like the military complex of how much we put more money into and all that story narrative. All right, I'm a sucker for that shit.
Yeah, the
Hell,
boy is a sucker.
yeah, fuck you. Metal Gear is my favorite game because of the fact that they actually point,
Oh.
in this case, the problems of like modern society, especially governing of like, oh, maybe we put too much focus on like the military like conflicts and whatnot, causing it to be a little bit dystopian. It's like, nah, you're full of it. And then next thing you know, it's like, huh, some of the games that Metal Gear is trying to portray as like part of stories is actually coming true. We'll
Hmm.
see. But mind you, this is something that like storyless conjecture on my part, trying to like put myself that like I'm just mad that we just haven't had a good Ghost Recon game. I really want a good Ghost Recon game that has like some points of Future Soldiers and some like the fun open worldness of Wildlands. Breakpoint almost had all of that too, but there was definitely a lot of decisions that I really wish that they did not have to implement, which was the looter shooter. God fucking damn it. I don't need any more looter
Yeah.
shooters outside of Borderland games.
That and Ghost Recon, like I said before, it's just basically a run and gun game now, which doesn't
Yeah.
make it fun anymore.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it really doesn't.
I mean, if you got a
And
couple buddies and just doing random shit, yeah, I mean, it'll get fun then. But
yeah, it's yeah, that's just how I feel about it too. But we're going into like the later parts of it, the last part of the section that I want to talk about as part of this game news, and that is currently the whole voice actors and the guild strikes that's going on. The only reason I am like aware of something like this is because there are still some characters in Genshin Impact that still don't have voice lines due to this strike. So let's go into like what's going on with this strike here as like the way to build up the context. So around like I believe it was like it started in like 2022 or 2023, somewhere around that time. And a bunch of like the voice actors here in North America and nowhere else act, well, maybe some parts of the EU, but predominantly here in America, that have decided to do a work strike against Hoyo Games for, in this case, the reasons of they wanted to go for like AI protection or wanting them to implement AI protection in all of their future projects and whatnot. And the strike has been going on for already more than a year plus. So in that time too, Genshin Impact has already released a couple of like patches and a lot of content update that features new cutscenes, new lands, and whatnot too, and character interactions. But unfortunately, a lot of those character dialogues and interactions are not present in the American or like English speaking language packs that most players are here in America are playing in. And this causes a lot of issues now too, because yeah, it kind of just makes it a little bit pointless for a lot of American players, kinda, that it's just like I kind of want to hear it in English, but if I have to like download like a 7 GB like audio pack to just hear all the characters in there, hear some type of dialogue from them, I'll probably just have to do that. But this is like already an initiative that's already a year in. The weirdest thing about it too is like a lot of people were supportive about it until lately. There was something that like Hoyo Games kind of rejected a proposal letter from, in this case, the union group SAG-AFTRA, which is in this case is what's kind of backing this strike in the first place. A lot of people were just like, okay, why would Hoyo Games back in this case deny this too? Because like, A, they probably were doing AI protection stuff, so it should be fine, right? So when they look into it as well, it's just like, wait, Hoyo Games has already have some type of AI protection policies in their company, only because of the fact that in 2022, China had to roll out, in this case, a new law that actually has like AI protection clauses as well. So Hoyo Games being a Chinese-based company too, yeah, they're gonna have to follow that. But even then too, Zenless Zone Zero, the newest game project that came out with, a lot of the voice acting talent that is working on Zenless Zone Zeros, the voice acting agencies they work with, they already have inherent AI protection policies built in them already. So if that's the case then too, if all the AI protection is already in place for a lot of these people, why are they still striking? And then that's where the fun bit comes in. So, mind you, Loy, when you play like Honkai Star Rail, what language pack do you play it in?
In English.
Were there like some like characters that did not have voice lines that whenever you were playing it?
Just a few, but that was on like last patch.
No, I will only say that too because recently this all came up to be too, because whenever you're striking too, like you also want to make sure that like the people that are working, they are actively not working too, and no one on that side should be working too. Otherwise, if you catch them working, they call them scavs, right? Scavs meaning in the way that like they undermine the strike in the first place, because you're, in this case, oh, I'm part of the strike too, but I have to make a living, so I will actually have to accept work in order to, try to keep on living here. In this case, still enabling operation regardless. That being said, the biggest issue right now is that like Hoyo Games in this case recasted one of the Genji characters. I think it was called Nikesh or Nike. I don't fucking remember. It was one of the newer Natlin characters. Is like the fucking twink boy that had the 8-bit character or 8-bit art effects. I don't remember. Needless to say, the English VA for that character got recasted by another person that is stationed in Japan. I think it was Jacob Nakanashi. Yeah, I think Takanashi. I forgot
Like
to
5
write.
different names, bro.
Sorry. Needless to say, it is a Japanese person that has enlisted him, that was hired on to do some of the voiceover works in English to do so. And he is being currently harassed right now on Twitter by other voice actors for being a scav, calling him names for doing all this shit, for like trying to like doing this. I was like, I mean, okay, yeah, let's see what's really going on about it too, because like it's just a recast too, because the original voice actor, he left that role to, in this case, protest with them too. And once like people actually start figuring out like, hey, the proposal that this strike organization has proposed to Hoyo Game is actually kind of fucking ridiculous. So what the original strike was supposed to be too is that like the AI protection stuff only makes up 10% of like what they cared about. I only use 10% because that's what a lot of people are saying it to, but it makes up a small minority of like what it actually wanted this to happen. They wanted to convert Hoyo Games to be a union-based project. That was the whole goal for the strike. It didn't care much at all if there was AI policy protection at all. They just wanted to convert Hoyo Games itself to be a union company with SAG-AFTRA.
I just want to let you know it's Hoyo first, not Hoyo Games.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. They did have to rename them because of that. Yeah, anyways, Hoyo Verse then. They wanted to do that way. Now, okay, So what's the big deal with, in this case, looking at the fact that it's a union project, looking into SAG-AFTRA unions stuff too? Victor, what was some of the most shocking thing that you see on there?
On where?
On SAG-AFTRA? Because I remember me and you, we had to like look through this shit too, because we were in disbelief of like what the fuck
Oh
this
yeah.
thing was like.
Yeah,
Demand.
the main thing was the membership requirements. Well, not the requirements, but like the fee and things like that.
Okay. Because like, yeah, the fee, here's the thing about it, like for anyone that wants to participate to be like a member of SAG-AFTRA, because the resulting thing is like, okay, what do you get if you become a member? You just get a card that says you're a SAG-AFTRA member of like this union group. Now
You,
the
the first thing that they tell you, or the first thing you have to pay is an application fee of $3,000.
yeah, it's $3,000 for this. And here's the thing too, they try to make it seem like it's not that bad too, because if you can't pay it, they give you, in this case, a loan style service payment that you can use instead. Eventually, you're kind of like paying interest payments for an application. Like,
And here's
what
the
the
kicker: they can reject you,
yeah. So
and
they
then
could like,
they don't. I mean, you lose that $3,000.
yeah, either $3,000 or however much money that you probably do. If they still make it say that you still gotta pay the $3,000 too, it's like, that's fucking blows. I'm not even part of this union yet. I'm still paying interest payment for the application fee. What
Mhm.
is this? And then outside of that too, there's even in this case too, where you have to pay, not only after you become a member too, you have to pay an annual fee of $150 to maintain that membership.
I guess 240.
To 240 or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount anyways too. I was just like, how the fuck is it that much? And here's the thing too, they also get around like 10 or like 1 to 10% of your contract salary for every voice work or for whatever gig that you decide to work with. So it's like, this is worse than a recruitment company, because there are jobs that I had to go through a recruiter to. The only thing they would take is, in this case, like some like flat payment for doing like the interview or introducing a company to me kind of service, whatever it is. That would be the only thing that they take away, and probably it'll be coming out from my salary for like maybe like a year or two. That's fine. Here it's just straight up like, for whatever work that you've done that is affiliated with a company that works for a union, works with this union, in this case making a union based project. And then there's like the Q&A that they threw in there, which was even more insane. Which is like, okay, let me fucking find the proper text about this too, because this is kind of insane and I need people to understand of like how ridiculous this sounds. Such as, here's the question, and then their Q&A is, as a union member, I'm not allowed to audition for non-union work, which, you know, that's a fair question to ask. And they say, wrong. Okay, so that means I could apply to a non-union work, even as a union member. And it says you are allowed to work for non-union work. However, you cannot work without a union contract. I was like, okay, you can audition, get the part. You're likely to stand out in a non-union crowd. Once you're offered the role, explain that you can't do the role unless it's union. Let the producer know that going union is not nearly as complicated or expensive as they might imagine. Staff is right here in Texas to help with the paperwork. Hold on a minute. This is fucking wild here too. So what you really are telling to other game companies is that like anybody that does voiceover work and does anything like artistic that's a part of SAG-AFTRA, right? They don't have to tell you that they're a member about it until you offer them the position. Then they say they can't, and they are holding that role hostage until you comply.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that is, what in the shit is this?
Indeed.
Okay, mind you, in Texas here, we don't have like union protection laws here, right? Is that what I remember correctly?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Gotcha. So for all I know too, living in Texas, dude, we never really had like unions actually becoming like a strong point here in like at least here in Texas. However, here's the thing. In this case, me and MB have the podcast group here. We are in this case pro workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, the way how a lot of these union groups are, because there's supposed to be a way to help facilitate, like to be like a pro worker narrative, none of them feel like pro worker. This feels like you're working with the mob. Like everything that you see them read that I just read to you guys right now, it feels like this is mob tactics in a way too. Because like here's the thing about it too. Because let's say for example that like all of the work that you do, or if like all the game companies simultaneously becomes union, then right, every game developer, every game studio is now part of a union group that works in collaboration with SAG-AFTRA. You as like any person that wants to start up their career trying to get into the space, whether it be as like a writer or a voice actor too, you literally have to work your way through this union group in order to accept roles. Because as like other union companies, they cannot actually accept people that are not part of the union, which funny enough, that is actually against the law too in the US, that you as a union group cannot make a closed shop system with other companies. The closed shop system meaning that like, oh, this company can only hire members from this union group and nowhere else too, or else they'll get fined. And here's some of the things I remember too, that like whenever they collaborate with like a company that goes union, the company themselves, they can only ever hire union groups after 30 days. Afterwards, too, like they will start finding the company for however many union or non-union members that are working in the company. Of like, I think it was like $500 per head. So it's just like, what the fuck? No wonder Hoyo Games did not accept this deal, because this is actual insanity. Like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong about this too as well. If we had like a company and then we get like put up with this type of position, we would all say no to this, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Then why the fuck does this group still exist then?
I don't know, because they think they can exist. I think that's all it really is.
Like straight up too, they're like, I don't understand like how does this union group actually exist the way that they are, because their whole fucking principle or what they're based off of is flawed from the very beginning. Like, there's no way you're gonna convince like game studios to support your cause if that's the fucking conditions you have to do. And especially even in this is coming from their website too, that they do, this union group will fine you for every non-union members that you employ, that you have to employ union members. And it sucks too, because for the voice actors, it's just like, oh, okay, so I get a guaranteed job, but I don't get that much pay and salary too, because the union group takes like 1 or 10% of my salary. So it's like, oh my god, this is actually fucking ridiculous right now too. So mind you, and there is also voice actors that are trying to like call other people like stupid and whatnot for not knowing this situation when this is literally stated in their website. One, for example, would be the voice actor of Paimon here. She is in this case the most notorious voice right now when it comes to like speaking out for that. But she slipped up by at least admitting the quiet part out loud, where like the AI protection part was something that the strike was never about in the first place. It was in this case trying to convert game companies to be part of the union group to first place too. Effectively trying to force them to join a cult or a fucking gang or a mob gang of types. I don't fucking know here. It gets crazier when it's like she's part of this strike too. But here's the funniest shit about it is that as part of like a person that's on strike, you're kind of like in this case not working, right? Because you want to make that point true, because I would rather not work for this company just so I can get my demands met. This bitch here decides to work during the strike as well for other stuff because the fact that she claims that she had bills to pay. This defeats the purpose of this defeats the legitimacy of your strike then, and it's pissing off more people now. Because the big
It's a lot of nonsense, really.
Yeah, and the greatest part about this too, this voice actress is not even part of the SAG-AFTRA union member either.
Crazy.
So it's just like, what is going on? This is the whole crazy shit right now that's currently happening with a lot of like, a lot of game development right now can be considered at the moment pause, just because at least here in North America we have this issue. However, here's the biggest reality for people that are in this case supportive of union groups too, and you're trying to hope that like Hoyle Games can like join this union. What makes you fucking think a Chinese company is going to join a American union? Really think about that.
What makes you think a Chinese company actually cares at all?
Yeah. But even if that was like, even if they did care at all, so what makes you actually think that that was going to happen? Like, you know that in this case, Hoyle Games is already in beds with like, in this case, with the Chinese government. Why would a Chinese government allow another Chinese company to join an American union group? People, people really, you gotta think about this shit too, because you're literally fighting for the dumbest reason. And I feel like the biggest loser of all too was the person that got recasted, because he decided to leave that role just to stand in protest, only to in this case be fighting in a protest that honestly doesn't make sense anymore, and he got his job taken away from him because he joined this strike group. So literally, so it's just like everybody is like, every other voice actor is actually fucked by two things here. One, in this case, they decide to do the strike themselves. And in this case, the union group that's backing this strike doesn't really give a fuck about you, and they just want to get more money. That's the hot take, really, at this point, but it's the most realist take either way. Because all union groups kind of feel like a scam, like what you said, Victor.
They are an absolute scam.
Like, how are you going to tell me too that like you are pro worker where you're going to have people in this case pay $3,000 for the potentiality that they can get a application through you so they can become a member? Then you ask them to pay an annual fee and you take percentage of their salary, when most of these voice actors, they are mostly contract based, which is kind of fucked up in the first place. Like, I don't understand too. Like, I get it. I'm in this case, everybody was in it for the like supporting the strike because of AI protection. That's great. But once people start to understand like what the strike was really about, and that was in this case making Hoyle Games go union, then everybody's like, wait, what the fuck? No. Because that also means too, like if the game does go union too, a lot of the costs that they have to deal with too is now getting passed on to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
so yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, the unions are just there to take money and not really help anyone.
Yeah.
Not the companies and not the workers.
Yeah, because the biggest shock of all too, like people are a lot of Genshin American community here in, or the Hoyo community here in North America. They're up in arms about this shit too, because guess what this fucking strike did? It made fucking gotcha players fucking read. Like, holy fucking shit, the amount of times dude that you get these fuckers to read is over some bullshit like this. Holy fuck. I'm not saying that gotcha players can't read too, but man, you guys have some literacy issues. I know too, because I am also part of that group as well.
I'm not part of it. You have no proof.
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. You already admitted on the video too that you spent some money on Honkai or Wuthering.
I didn't do shit. How much you talking about? That could have been just easily edited in real time.
It's like, yeah, I'm the one that's doing the edits, you dumbass.
Yeah, real time.
Editing it in real time, bro.
Oh my god.
Just fucking, edit it to your pleasure.
Yeah.
To make it
but
right.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like realistically about this, for you guys too, would you guys actually supported a strike? If anything, if these voice actors and writers too were actually striking against companies for AI protection, if in this case the company themselves had no plans of implementing of such.
What was that? Ask that again.
Okay, so would you guys be for the strike for these voice actors and writers here, right? if the company themselves had no plans to implement some type of AI protection policies.
It's hard to say.
Hmm.
Because if they have AI, if they don't have AI protection and they use AI voice acting, I don't think they're hiring voice actors to begin with.
Yeah. But the way how this is kind of worded is that like they need to hire voice actors initially too, just so that they can actually like get some data models that they can train, like in this case, AI voices to go off of. However, as like someone like me, you being game developers, we don't really need to hire AI voice actors at all. We could just do it ourselves if we have to.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I understand too that like obviously some type of protection is necessary, especially if you do hire a voice actor here. That makes sense. However, I do remember that there was actually at one point, I believe it was in Mass Effect, if you play as a female Shepard, the voice actress for female Shepard kind of went into the studio with like literally no lines. Like there wasn't a script that they gave her. She just went in and just went like, fuck it, we ball. So a lot of it was mostly ad lib. And that's kind of like the thing too, to like at least, yeah, probably try to standardize a lot of stuff too, so that we don't create a lot of situations like that too. And obviously with AI stuff and technology, it's not a matter of like, can we prevent this from happening too? It's going to happen, and a lot of companies are going to use it as well. But obviously I do get to like have like some protection clauses or policies to make sure that your AI, like your, if you're a voice actor too, that you don't want a company to just profit off of your work for like a cheaper cost here, right? You want to at least be able to get paid some amount of stuff for the work that you put in. Makes perfect sense. But I don't know. It's really difficult right now too, because the way how like the strike group is, it kind of gets ruined by like all the other people that are trying to push hard for this strike too. And then you look into like the background of like SAG-AFTRA being like honestly a shitty union group in my honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you kill off the support of all these other players, try to back you up, because once you don't have the support of the public, you're effectively just on your own, like no one cares about you kind of shit. And like I don't know, in my end too, I would be for the strike too if in this case if I didn't know that like this was else was going on too. But because I knew about this, I'm like, fuck, I can't really be supportive of this strike too, because you guys aren't really pushing for like AI policy protection too. Because let's be honest, a lot of people were for that, but now that it's kind of like never been that in the first place, and it's just for a company to go union instead. Yeah, no, a lot of people don't give a fuck about that. So, and that was something that like a lot of voice actors they were preaching on, that this was this strike was for, until someone read the fine print. It's like, wait, this was never about the AI voice acting ever. This was just them like wanted to like get more money off of these companies, especially how fucking big Hoyoverse is. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like it kind of pains me too, because I also feel like a lot of game studios right now too, modern game studios, are currently in beds with SAG-AFTRA too, because it's either they were forced to do so, or they legitimately do support like whatever the shit they're doing. I don't know. Needless to say too, Wuthering Waves actually is kind of has their shit protected in it's a lot of ways, because a lot of their English VA comes from like the European parts, and they already have their own robust ways of like ensuring like voice actor protection. So we'll see from there. But this is more or less like towards the what I already have for game news too, and that's like the current scape right now, with a lot of people are kind of fed up with this strike right now too, because that means that all of their favorite characters that have become voiceless, yeah, that was just for no reason now. And now you had even more voice actors that are about to lose their fucking jobs because of this shit. So I don't know. Do I really feel bad that like this happened to voice actors? kinda, yeah, but it's also they also made the active choice of like actually going on strike without reading really deep into like what they're striking for. Or in this case, they knew what they were doing, but they were purposefully trying to mislead people. I don't know. This is something that like it's already like a tricky field to begin with, since I have a lot of respect for voice actors. And seeing people and like a lot of them do shit like this too, it really does hurt me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
God. Damn. But on a sort of like a semi-positive note on this regard too, let's just hope for the people that are playing Genshin Impact, your characters will eventually, they'll get like recasted. They'll finally get voices too. Hopefully a lot of people are pushing that, in this case, Paimon to be like recasted as well.
Please. That voice
But
is god awful.
yeah, but even if that wasn't the case too, like for the people that are playing on like a English language pack, just play like a other language pack for like any Hoyoverse game. I should probably do that for. No, I won't do that for Wuthering Waves, because Wuthering Waves actually has phenomenal like English voice acting work, at least in my opinion. But needless to say, was there anything else that you guys would like to make statements about all the things that we covered here?
No.
Not much.
No.
Not much else. I think it is ridiculous, this whole SAG after nonsense.
It really is.
But then again, that's just how I feel about all unions. Let me be honest.
Yeah.
Like
if
a union needs to be involved, your company's already shitty. That's something that's my hot take right now.
yeah, like let's be honest here. I'm in this case, I would be for unions in a more idealistic mindset, but the
Well,
way how they're being,
look, in an ideal scenario, anything is perfect.
yeah, like you wouldn't need a union group to begin with, then, right?
No, what I'm saying is any idea and everything that you ever tell anyone else, like every idea that you come up with is a good idea in an ideal scenario.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But obviously, I don't support like the way how unions are working here, especially how a lot of times it feels like you're extorting people at this point,
They are.
and it's just like,
You gotta pay money to unions for them to quote unquote protect your job.
yeah, and it's just like, oh, but it's like union members. One of the counter arguments about this, like, oh, union members, they get paid more too. Yeah, they get paid more because half the time too, whatever they're going to be taking from you, you're going to bitch and complain that you're getting taken away too much because
Well,
your union group
no.
is already taking 10%.
Technically it's not. I mean, they get paid more, yes, but they don't have the same amount of raises as normal people would.
Yeah, you're not going to get any more raises too, which is something that, like, I don't know if like that's a unique thing for like contract work for like voice actors too, because I can see like some voice actors, you can be like salary based too if it's like a live service based game too, but a lot of times too, aren't like a lot of voice actors like just consider like, ooh my bad, aren't like considered like gig work too, unless you're like the main voice actor for that. I don't know.
I think it's all gig work. I mean, once they're done developing a game, that's really it.
Yeah. Maybe, or maybe
mean-
there's like a clause that allows you to like get royalties for like how popular the game gets to, unless there's
Yeah.
something like that. But either way too, I'm pretty sure a lot of these voice actors, they're not like as big as like compared to like Matt Mercer, Stephen Blum, hell, even Kevin Conroy, the legend, the GOAT, the Batman himself.
Mhm.
They're not like at that level of like potential like voice acting role. Mind you, there's not like in this case, I'm shitting on modern voice actors being like, oh, you're not as good as them. I'm think that there are good voice actors, but you don't have in this case the type of legacy that these guys have. Like hell, even Johnny Young Bosch too. Like he's technically like someone that didn't take voice acting work seriously until like after he did Trigun. So needless to say too, like I'm not saying too that like they're treated like they should get special treatment because they were working in the industry longer. No, I'm just saying too, like that's just how I feel. Like I like their voice work, what they do too. It's just that sometimes I'm just criticizing the type of work you guys do aren't in this case the same type of degree of range that these guys would do. Like in this case, I'm trying to push you guys to do more. like showcase like the more of the artistic expression, because voice acting work, it's an art as well. Hell, David Hayter, the voice of fucking Solid Snake, is still my goat. Colonel, I'm trying to sneak around the base, but the clap of my ass cheeks.
It's alerting the guards.
God damn. Like I said, I'm pretty sure like any voice actor can do well in like a gaming space industry, especially if you can find like a role in like a game. But that's like with any gig work or any contract work too, for like any actor. Once you make it big, yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money, and of course you want to make sure that you're insured. But a lot of times too, like you're forcing other new upcoming voice actors to become part of this union group, which in this case could potentially fuck up their future. So I'm just saying too, for like all of those that are up and coming voice actors, just be very careful, because there will be people that'll take advantage of you, both game companies and other outside entity forces. So this is just like me giving the last bit of warning for those that are still part of the union group, but really think about your actions. That's all I really got to say too. Is if you guys have nothing else to say, thank you again for tuning in for another night of me rambling podcast. Oh man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good night,
What was it?
everybody. Have a
Yo.
good day, night, evening, wherever you are.
Yo.
And make love to yourself.
Yes,
Please.
especially that.
Oh God. Anyways. Good night, y'all.